Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of We Don't Watch Movies, featuring me, Corinne, and
Me, Monze.
Woo!
What? Yes.
Today we're talking about a movie that I watched recently begrudgingly, that Monzi has not seen,
I haven't seen it.
called The Prestige. Ooh.
Ooh.
Directed by Christopher Nolan, aka
Oh.
yeah, the ultimate white male film student, circle jerk. We love this movie. Um,
I
yeah.
think it's pretty obvious to everyone that we don't like Chris Nolan.
Christopher Nolan is okay, but I think he's overrated.
Oh, I definitely think, yeah. He's just like, every guy is like, it's Christopher Nolan, let me jack off real quick to this movie. I'm
Oh,
just like, that's on your own time, dude. I don't get it, but you do you.
Monzi, why have you not seen this movie?
Okay, well, I thought I had seen maybe 2 minutes of this movie, but I think last time we talked about it, you said that wasn't The Prestige. That was the other magic movie.
Yeah,
What is it called?
The Illusionist.
The Illusionist. Because I was like, does this have Edward Norton in it? And you said no.
Yeah,
Um, what year did this movie come out? Like 2005 or something?
it was like 2005 or 2006. Yeah,
Oh, so it was pretty close. So yeah, I was like, what, 13 or something?
2006. Yeah.
15. I didn't care about these movies. Still don't care about those movies. I don't know, like, you see like a trailer and you're like, that's not interesting.
Mhm.
That was me, and it's still me. I'm still like, this is still not interesting. I still don't know what it's about. I'm assuming it's about magic. Maybe
Uh-huh.
real magic and not illusionary magic, because it's... Or is it real magic?
Whoa!
Oh! So yeah, I guess, I don't know. I was never like, hey, that looks like a movie up my alley.
Mhm.
And that is why. It's not a good answer, but it's what I got. I don't even think about this movie, so.
You don't even think about this movie. That's probably for the better, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. So, what?
Is this movie about Houdini?
No. That would
Okay.
make it more interesting, but it's not about Houdini.
Okay.
What?
Is the other one about Houdini?
I have no idea what the other one's about. So both of the movies actually came out around the same
Yeah,
time.
the same time. That's
Yeah.
why it's like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Um. What do you think happens in this movie?
The Prestige.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna assume the Prestige is the name of a theater, and the theater is where everybody wants to make a big name, and it's like late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm gonna assume vaudeville is real big, and there's this guy, the oh no, wait, that's the illusionist, and there's this guy who's a magician, and I was gonna say he's the illusionist, but no, and he is like, I'm going to be a magician, but he's Hugh Jackman, right? It's Hugh Jackman in
Mm-hmm.
the movie. So he's like, I'm gonna be a magician. He does not. That's not a good impression. Anyway, and he probably falls in love with like a prostitute or something, and she's probably like the assistant to another rival magician, and then they're competing to get the top spot at the Prestige. And one of them, Hugh Jackman, probably gets syphilis and dies on stage. He doesn't get the syphilis on stage, but he dies of syphilis on stage.
Oh my
And that is
goodness.
the Prestige.
Oh. All right.
I don't care what this movie is about now. I'm gonna go write that fanfiction. I'm gonna write my own script, and it's gonna be that.
So you got a couple elements correct.
The syphilis part. Is the name of the theater the Prestige?
Do you want me to tell you or
Rival magicians? No, I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, you're gonna find out.
I still need to watch the trailer. So
Yeah. I'm just saying you got a couple bits of it correct.
Ooh, a gun. Shoot him right now. Do it. Kill Christian Bale. I've been dying to shoot him for years. Give me the gun. It was already in his hand. It's not magic. I love Hugh Jackman's voice and his face.
Yeah, I like Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I hate Scarlett Johansson.
Mm-hmm.
Can't stand her. That's where she gives him syphilis. Oh, they were friends and they became enemies. Michael Caine is in this movie?
Yeah. That was what I said when I first saw him in the movie.
Oh, look, he invented time travel. A rivalry that became a battle. I need you to sleep with him and give him syphilis now. Memento's trash. Why does everyone cry up? Oh my god, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. Seriously? This is the trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Look at all these light bulbs. It's hot, those light bulbs. Oh, the prestige. Look at all these secrets. She's dead. Good, like she deserves to be. I'm so tired of this trailer.
This trailer's so long.
You wanna know the truth? I don't do it. Abracadabra. Alright, Christian Bale. He invents time travel. That's it, I don't care. That's the answer. This is so annoying. I hate this trailer. Is this it? Is this the end?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank God. I hated every second of it.
We're gonna have such a good episode today.
I'm not even... I watched Jurassic Park 2. Let me just say this. And it was extremely stressful.
That's why I don't, like, I've never seen Jurassic Park 2 or 3. I'm too scared to watch 2 and 3. I've seen 4 and 5 and 1, but I'm not gonna go... I've seen the ending of the second one, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to sit down and watch it.
I can't wait to talk to you about it when we finally do that episode. Anyway, continue. Let's go back to something I don't care about.
Okay, cool. So, do you want to change anything of what you think happens in The Prestige?
Okay, well, there's two best friends. And they both like magic. And they're both trying to outdo each other to make the best magic trick. And Hugh Jackman has the best magic trick. But then freaking Christian Bale comes up with his own magic trick and it's better than Hugh Jackman's magic trick. And then Hugh Jackman is like, I need you to whore yourself out for this magic trick. And they're like, alright, I'll give him syphilis too. And then they get caught up in a whole web of lies and secrets, and it turns out that the magic trick was the friendship they lost along the way. And that is The Prestige.
Ooh. So we got a couple other elements in there. But we've got a couple other that are just completely incorrect. But...
Nope, that's 100% correct. I don't know what you're talking about.
Alright, so...
Uh-huh.
I watched this movie because I was so sick and tired of hearing pretentious white guys who say that they're all about cinema constantly telling me that Christopher Nolan is their favorite director and The Prestige is their favorite movie. And I was just like, if I'm going to effectively fight against this enemy, I have to know what juice they're drinking.
I have to get into the trenches.
Like, I already, exactly. Like, I've seen Inception and I've seen Interstellar, and Inception is fine and Interstellar is shit. So I can argue on those points, but The Prestige is their trump card because Batman can go either way. But Prestige is the one.
Prestige is prestigious.
Yeah, Prestige and Memento. They're always like, oh my god, Prestige and Memento, Prestige and Memento. Like, you gotta hand it to The Prestige. It's so good. And, like, I've been I've been microaggressed with the Prestige like the entire time. Now I'm like, I gotta know. I need to know what's so great about this movie. So I went in pretty negative neutral, and I asked John if he wanted to watch it with me, and he fell asleep 30 minutes in, and he was like, "Can we watch this later?" And I was like, "No, I gotta finish this tonight because I'm not gonna want to watch this any other time."
I am in now. We are not going back.
Yeah. So it starts off there. So it starts off with like this shot of like a shit ton of top hats,
Of
and like some
course.
cats in the middle of the forest. This movie is just so gray. Like it's extremely gray, and I'm like, this is boring. And one thing I really don't like about Christopher Nolan is his color, like his color correction or whatever. How he likes his films to look is boring.
Yeah.
It's boring. Um,
Yeah, I mean the trailer's like just dark in general.
yeah,
Like
it's just gray and whatever. And there's only white people, so that's fine.
I
We're
don't know
we're
if
in
you know this, but there's only white people in the world.
yeah. We're not real. It's like the 1890s. It's the late 19th century, and apparently people who aren't white haven't been invented yet because
Nope.
nope.
Mm-mm.
I think maybe I saw one person of color in the entire movie, but anyways. Also, women are far and few in between as well. So
Women aren't real either.
no. So we're in London and like Michael Caine is
I've
talking.
never actually met a woman before.
um and when I saw him I was like, is that Michael Caine? And I had to look it up. I was like, oh, it is Michael Caine.
You
Um
don't recognize Michael Caine by his face and or voice
no.
immediately?
No, I was like, I think that's Michael Caine. If I had to imagine what Michael Caine looked like, it would be this. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, it is Michael
A
Caine.
good thing it is him. When I imagine what you would look like, you look exactly like yourself.
I thought it was Michael Caine and I was correct. So they're like, it opens like with that, and I think you see like Christian Bale goes like underneath the stage, and Michael Caine's explaining like the three parts of the magic trick. And
Michael Caine, not Michael
yeah,
Keaton.
Michael Caine. He's explaining the voiceover, and then Christian Bale is downstairs. I don't remember their in character like in the movie names. I'm just gonna call them by the actor names.
That's fine.
So Christian Bale goes down and he sees like this water tank, and then Hugh Jackman suddenly falls in and it locks, and he's like banging on it like, let me out of here or whatever. And then the next day they're at trial because Hugh Jackman died. So he drowned. So then Michael Caine, he's the one who made the magic trick, and because like so he's like the engineer to the magic trick. So if your thing needs like a prop, like he's the one who makes the props to help with the illusion. So he technically made that glass locker thing, but he when he came down, he saw Christian Bale standing there with Hugh Jackman like banging on the glass, and he was like, oh my god, you killed this guy. So Christian Bale is on trial for the murder of Hugh Jackman, and they're like talking about the magic trick stuff or whatever, and Christian Bale is like, I didn't do it. And the other guy was like, well, when I made this glass box, the lock on top is a trick lock. It shouldn't have actually locked, so somebody tampered with it, and the only person we saw down there was you, so you must have tampered with it. And then the judge is like, and then the judge also was like, I want to know how like this is explained or whatever. And the engineer guy is like, well, if I fully explain all of my tricks, he's like, then I'm gonna be out of a job, And so then he tells the judge in private like about the lock thing.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to like ruin his whole business. And then at like the trial or whatever,
I can't believe Hugh Jackman was a ghost the entire time.
it's like the Sixth Sense. So throwback. This like little girl shows up at the top of the trial, and she's just watching with this sad face, and Christian Bale's watching her with like a sad face, and then she like leaves. So then
great.
there's like I'm trying to like tell it chronologically, but I've got my plot synopsis just in case. So yeah, it like that's how it like opens up, and then we get like a flashback.
20 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, I think Christian Bale is like, so he's in jail, and then some guy comes over and he's like, I want to buy your trick. Like I want to buy the trick that you do, the disappearing man. And the guy is like, oh well, I don't It's not for sale. And he's like, well, you might want to think about it because of your daughter, since, your wife is dead and no one's going to take care of your daughter. And he was like, well,
So much exposition.
yeah,
Okay.
there's so much. And he's like, well, my engineer can take care of the daughter. And then the guy is like, well, he's already kind of shady anyway, so people aren't going to trust him. So, like consider selling your trick to my, like, the person that I work for, especially if you want your daughter taken care of or whatever. The guy's like, oh, I'm going to think about it. He's like, well, think fast. And he gives him like this notebook to read, which is like the journal of Hugh Jackman's character. So Christian Bale's reading the journal in jail. And the journal takes us back to like before all this shit show happened, when Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale were friends. So both of them worked as assistants to this main magician who Michael Caine was the engineer for. And like they're like two plants, so they sit in the audience. And
Yeah.
like, so for the water trick, you see Rachel McAdams is in this movie for a hot second. So she's the woman who goes into the water, and she's like supposed to like tie out of a knot and get out in a certain amount of time. So they put her in there, they lock the cage, and then they put a curtain around it. They give her like 15 seconds or something, and then when they open the curtain, she's standing outside of the thing. So it's like, it's miraculous. How does she do it? And so the woman who goes in the water, Rachel McAdams, she's like Hugh Jackman's wife or girlfriend or something. Like they're in love. And they're in love. So, and then they do the trick. You see it done successfully. And they afterwards, like Hugh Jackman, he like kisses her on the leg or whatever, like while he's doing the thing, because they want like two volunteers to like tie her wrists. And so that's like Christian Bale is the one who ties the wrists, and Hugh Jackman ties her feet. And that's when Michael Caine is like, hey, stop like macking up on her, because people are going to realize that like you two have like a thing going on, instead of actually believing that you two are like random people. And then Christian Bale's talking about like the trick isn't good enough, like we should do like a harder knot, that way it's more interesting or whatever. And the guy's like, no, it's too dangerous, like we're gonna keep the easy knot. And Christian Bale's like, whatever. Rachel McAdams like, I can do the hard knot. And they're like, no. And then Michael Caine tells Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, like, if one of you two can tell me the secret to this trick that this Chinese guy does downtown, the only person of color in this movie, then I'll talk to somebody and get you like 15 minutes on stage to do your own magic trick, because both of them want to do like their own thing. So Christian Bale, I forgot if he's pro magic method or anti. I think Christian Bale's whole thing is he doesn't believe in like a trick, like in like an illusion. He believes in like living the magic, like the method, like method acting versus like
I'm
getting,
so tired already. Continue.
whatever. It's whatever. So they see the Chinese guy, and he like makes a bowl disappear or something. He has like a goldfish bowl that he somehow makes disappear or whatever. And the trick is that he's hiding it in between his legs, but it's like a full gold. Oh, he makes a goldfish bowl like appear, but it's like a full goldfish bowl, and he looks like an old crippled man. So he wears like this long robe or whatever. And when he leaves, he's still wearing that and still walking like he's like old, even though he has to be incredibly strong to walk around holding this like 50-pound goldfish bowl on stage.
Yeah.
So Christian Bale is like, oh, I really respect that, because he lives the trick constantly.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman's like, whatever. Like he kind of like tries to do the trick. He's like, I can't believe it that he does this all the time. Yada yada. So then Rachel McAdams is like, whatever. So then the next day they do the trick. But this time they did the same thing.
About the trick. Come kiss my leg.
Pretty much. And then Christian Bale, he does the difficult knot. And like Rachel McAdams sees it,
dies.
And she's like, okay. Like she's like, all right, I see it. And he does the difficult knot. And they put her in, and they're waiting and waiting. And like Michael, in the first one, Michael Caine like always waits on the side with an axe, just in case something happens. Like he always does that. And this time he's like checking the stopwatch, and he's like, she's not coming out yet. There's no thing. So he like halts it. He comes out on stage. He like pulls the thing off, and like you see her like struggling to like get out. And so he's like hitting the glass with the axe, and I'm like, shouldn't the axe be like a one-hit go? It takes like 5 times, or like 3 or 5 times to get her out, and she's like I don't know how her lungs are or whatever, but like in the 5 seconds that it takes him to finally break the thing, she starts to like actually drown and loses consciousness. I was like, wow, how convenient. And she like pulls out, she spills out finally. And since CPR hasn't been invented yet, she dies. Because if CPR had been invented, she would have survived. Now, let me tell you a fun story. The first time I started watching this movie was when I was in 11th grade in AP Environmental Science. I don't know why the movie was put on because it has nothing to do with the environment, but I guess our teacher, Coach Deweese, was also the film teacher. We had like one filmmaking class in high school, which I didn't get into because they never gave me the schedule and electives that I wanted. So when that scene happened, he was like, he pointed and he said, "See, this is why you need to know CPR." He said,
"This is why we need CPR. This woman is dead.
Because
this woman in the past in this fake movie is dead."
He literally was like, "See, if
we
they
could
knew
save
CPR,
all the hot women if we all knew CPR."
Imagine all the Rachel McAdams we could have saved in 1890. He literally was like, "See, if they knew CPR, this wouldn't have happened."
CPR, this would never have happened.
Yeah, but I looked it up. CPR had not been invented at that point. They tried a bunch of other stupid things to try to get you to wake up. But yeah. So Hugh Jackman's just like kind of like slapping her face like a little bit. He's like, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." And obviously she doesn't wake up. Slap. So then they're at like the funeral. And Christian Bale is like feeling the funeral. Christian Bale's feeling like kind of guilty.
I was gonna put the fun in funeral.
When you say funeral, it makes me think of profiterole, and then I think of Great British Bake Off. But so
I don't know what any of that
it's
means.
like a cream puff.
But we're moving on.
Yeah, we're moving on. So then Hugh Jackman, he's like looking, and then Michael Caine like says some stupid shit. This movie's so dumb. He says some stupid shit about like, I knew a sailor once who had like drowned, or he was drowning and he survived in the end. And Hugh Jackman.
Too bad Rachel McAdams is dead.
Yeah.
YOLO.
He's like trying to comfort
R.I.P.
Hugh Jackman, I guess, by being like, "Oh, this sailor that I knew, he had like drowned or whatever. Like he was lost at sea and he was dead for 10 minutes and he came back." And Hugh Jackman was like, "What was it like?" And Michael Caine was like, "He said it was like going home." And Hugh Jackman was like, "Okay." And he's probably saying that to like help him be at peace with his wife being dead. Christian Bale arrives and Hugh Jackman's like, "Let me ask you a question. What knot did you tie?" And Christian Bale's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "What the fuck do you mean you don't know?" And he's like, "I don't remember." And he's like,
"I don't know how to tie anything. Look at my shoelaces. I'm a mess."
Literally, he was like, "What do you mean you don't remember the knot you used? Like, you had just been talking about using a different knot and you don't remember?" Christian Bale's like, "I don't remember, man. I don't know what to tell you."
I don't even know where I was that day.
Pretty much,
Where are you?
So then this is the start of the falling out.
How dare you hold me accountable for murdering your wife?
Right? So this is where it all falls apart, and like Hugh Jackman tries drowning himself, but he can't do it, and then he's like out of a job. Michael Caine is out of a job. Christian Bale is like, he's still got that magician spot in the 15 minutes, but he's like not doing very well because his presentation kind of sucks. And then in the meantime, he meets this random lady, and he like shows this magic trick to the kid. Oh yeah, he's like helping someone like show the magic trick or whatever. It's like the bird one. And the problem with the bird, like the collapsing cage bird magic trick, is it ends up killing the bird in the end. Like you have a second bird that you show to pretend that it was alive. So he's like showing this trick or helping show this trick, and then this lady and her like younger brother are watching, and the boy starts crying because he's like, "You killed the bird," and the guy's like, "No, I didn't kill the bird. The bird's right here." And he's like, "Well, where's the bird's brother?" And then it reveals like all the bird cages, and like it shows him like discarding the dead bird. So then he tells the girl like, "Oh, your brother's really smart." And then the girl's like, "I know." He's like, "Well, is he yours?" She's like, "No, he's my brother." So he's like, "Oh, so you're available." And then he like seduces her and they get married, and that they do like the gun trick, and he explains to her like how it works. He's like, "As long as no one like puts anything in the gun, then I can catch the bullet properly or whatever." And she's like, "Okay." And he does the trick at the
okay.
It's like something about the gun trick where it's like, as long as no one actually puts anything in it, it's fine. Like he can actually, it slows the bullet down and he can catch it, or it's something, because it has to look like you're loading it, but you're not actually loading it with anything.
Yeah.
So he does this at his 15-minute show thing that's supposed to be like his big break, but he calls in a volunteer, and somehow the volunteer he happens to call on is Hugh Jackman in a disguise, and Hugh Jackman, of course, puts something inside the gun, so when he shoots him, he's like actually shooting him, and he like
How
shoots
do you
his...
not recognize the guy who was your friend, even if he's in disguise?
They-
I'm sorry, Corinne, but if you were in disguise, I'd be like, "Who's that dumb bitch?"
Right? Like my eyebrows give it away. But I don't understand how they like didn't know. And anyway, and like the convenience of like, oh, you conveniently picked this guy, whatever. So then that like it's kind of career ruining for Christian Bale because he like fucked up the trick, and then. But then Michael Caine approaches Hugh Jackman. He's like, hey, let's work together because I don't have a job. No one will work with me. And, like, you've got a good flair for showmanship, apparently, which comes out of nowhere. I'm like, when did Hugh Jackman become a showman? Like, that was never shown whatsoever. He was just an assistant in love with his wife. But suddenly you're approaching him because he has a flair for presentation. Okay, fine. This came out of nowhere.
Michael Caine is really saying that you're really hot. So
That's it. That makes more sense. So they're working on a bird trick that is humane and doesn't kill the bird. So it's like two people hold the trick, and then there's something that like you do or whatever, and the bird like flies out. So it's like it goes up his sleeve, so no one actually, like, the bird doesn't actually die, because Hugh Jackman says like, I don't want to kill the bird, and Michael Caine says something about like, well, you're gonna get some blood on your fingers, but he shows him like it doesn't actually kill the bird. So they've like rented out the theater, and they show the trick to the guy who's like owns the theater. And he's like, all right, sure, you can do this. This is a cool trick. It's like a whole like harness vest thing that he's wearing, like some steampunk
yeah, like
bullshit.
in the trailer thing. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So they go and they're doing that. And they have to get like another assistant, which is Scarlett Johansson, who they just pick up off the street, and they're like, yeah, you can be an assistant. And then so they're doing the trick, and then they have to like, they ask her to like ask for volunteers in the audience. So she picks like this one lady, and then she picks another guy, and then the guy is Christian Bale in a disguise. And I'm like,
what is this nonsense? Why are you going to these things in disguises?
How do they keep getting picked? They should tell him, like, don't pick any men, only pick women, or, like, just make sure it's, and whatever. So, like, Christian Bale knows the trick, and he like, pulls on a certain, like, a tripwire or whatever on the trick, so it, like, the woman's fingers get caught in there, so she's screaming because her fingers are, like, broken, and then it collapses, so the bird dies, so it's, like, traumatizing. And then the owner of the theater is like, oh, I don't want you here, even though they're like, hey, obviously this guy's like has it out for us. He's like, I don't care. I don't want like any more broken fingers or dead birds. So it's like, whatever.
I'm so over this movie. Continue.
So they keep like battling each other and sabotaging each other's tricks. And then Christian Bale comes out with this amazing trick, the disappearing man. He has like two doors. He walks in one door, and then he walks out the other door like immediately. So it looks like he teleports. But the way he does it, the presentation is, like, kind of not great. And Hugh Jackman's like, how does he do this trick? And then Michael Caine is like, he's got a double. And Hugh Jackman's like, no, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than a double. And he's like, I want to know how he does the trick because we could do it so much better. And so some stuff is, like, happening, and then...
and there's some stuff.
Some stuff. He like, asks Scarlett Johansson, who now he's involved with and falling in love with, he tells Scarlett Johansson to go to Christian Bale and like be his assistant and get the secret from him. And so she does, but she ends up falling in love with Christian Bale, even though he has a wife and a child already. But the wife is like, she's like, sometimes when you say you love me, you mean it, and sometimes when you say you love me, you don't mean it, and I can always tell. And like, I want to know like which, like, I feel like some days you're great and some days you're not great. It's like I'm married to two different people. And he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. And that's when like the secrets thing. He's like, secrets are my life. I can't tell you. So then Scarlett Johansson is like fiddling around with Christian Bale, and she like kind of lies, kind of doesn't. Like she says like, Hugh Jackman sent me here. He's obsessed with your stuff. Like he doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about his wife anymore. He sent me here, but I can help you. I can help you like better your presentation and stuff, and like give you actual performance levels. So she's like weirdly telling the truth, but she's still reporting back to Hugh Jackman. And you're like, who? Are you double crossing? Are you triple crossing? Whatever. She hands Hugh Jackman a book, which is Christian Bale's like notebook, and he writes in like this weird cipher. So Hugh Jackman's like
Oh
decoding
my
it,
god.
and he's right, and like Christian Bale's writing about, like, reading about Hugh Jackman, reading about the book, and basically it says like, oh, Nikola Tesla, that's the key. Like, he went to Tesla, and Tesla has all the answers. So Tesla apparently is in the movie, played by David Bowie, and his assistant is Andy Serkis. And I was like, hey, it's Andy Serkis. Um, and so he goes to America to see, in Colorado, to visit Nikolai Tesla, and he like stays in this hotel, and he goes to Tesla, and he's like, hey, I heard you made like a special machine for Christian Bale. Make me that machine. I want the machine to, like, like, I want this machine to do whatever. And David Bowie's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But then at some point, Hugh Jackman like thinks that they're just wasting his money, and he's like, oh, you keep like, you're trying to show me, because he wants to make the teleporting man trick. So he's expecting the machine to teleport it, but they put the hat in, and the hat just stays there, and they put the cat in, and the cat just stays there, like nothing happens. So he's like, you're just wasting my money here, like, you have no patience, whatever. And then finally Hugh Jackman's like, I've had enough, I'm leaving. So he leaves the day that they do the cat thing, but he hears like cats fighting. So he turns, and he's like, what? And he sees two cats that look the exact same. And he keeps walking, and he starts seeing the same top hat as the one they keep putting in there and putting in the machine. He keeps walking, and it's the first shot in the movie where it's like 100 top hats. And they're like, oh, this machine doesn't only teleport, but it clones things. It just clones things.
What? Oh my god, I'm tired. I'm so tired. This is some dumb stuff. So the Hugh Jackman who's dead isn't the actual real, or he's a clone. There, I solved the mystery. I don't even care.
But wait, so yeah, so basically it's like, oh, this machine actually clones shit, which is like, I guess, like, we've been operating in real world things up till now, but I guess, that this is what it is, whatever. So there, Hugh Jackman has this cloning machine, and he's, he's doing all this. At some point during this whole thing, Hugh Jackman leaves somewhere, and he's following Christian Bale, and he's being followed by Christian Bale's engineer, who's like this guy with glasses who never talks. And so he's following him because he thinks Hugh Jackman is going to like hurt Christian Bale. But what they end up doing is they trap the engineer guy, and they kidnap him. And then the next day, Christian Bale shows up to meet Hugh Jackman. He's like, where's my engineer guy? And he's like, well, I want to know, like, I think this is like when he finds out, like, he wants to know the cipher or whatever. Like, he wants to know the trick. And Christian Bale tells him something, I don't remember. And then
something obnoxious.
Something that it either leads him to Tesla, or something like that. I think it leads him to Tesla. That he gives him the code word to decipher the cipher. And then he's like, all right, well, where's my engineer? And Hugh Jackman's like, start digging. So the guy's like, oh, so he's like digging in the ground. So it insinuates they like buried a man alive, like right there. So Christian Bale digs him out. And then the Tesla thing happens, and Hugh Jackman's like, wow. So then Hugh Jackman comes to Michael Caine, and like this theater
Magic
guy.
Is not this, like,
it's stupid. So then he's like, hey, and then Hugh Jackman tests out the machine himself, but you don't see the results. It just cuts, and then it goes to Hugh Jackman being like, I'm doing a limited showing, and he's like being really weird. He's like hiring these blind people to act as his stage hands. He doesn't want anybody to be like behind stage during the thing. Oh, because before, I forgot. So they because Michael Caine was like, he uses a double. So then they found a double for Hugh Jackman. And it's actually Hugh Jackman playing like this other person. So it's Hugh Jackman playing two different things. And
Jesus.
Yeah, and the double is like a disgraced drunk alcoholic actor, but he does a really good job at impersonating Hugh Jackman. So they do it, but Hugh Jackman.
It's so weird how he's so good at impersonating Hugh Jackman.
So then like how they're doing the disappearing man trick is Hugh Jackman comes in one end and he falls onto the bottom, and then the actor comes out the other end and he receives the applause. So now Hugh Jackman's like, the trick is great, but no one, like, I don't actually get to receive the applause, the stage actor does. And then eventually the stage actor, because he's drunk and alcoholic, Christian Bale finds him and, like, Inception's like, hey, you know, you could do the trick entirely yourself. Like, you could control the whole thing because you're the end guy. Like, you're more important than Hugh Jackman says you are. And at one point, Hugh Jackman, like, lands and there's no pillow cushion for him, so he, like, breaks his leg. And then the actor on stage, like, kind of goes off script and, like, does this whole thing. And it gets sabotaged by I think at one point he's like tied up and he comes down, so it looks like the trick has gone wrong. And then Christian Bale shows up and he's like, oh no, something, like, he comes out the door instead. He's like, well, that didn't work out. And then he's like, go see my trick at the theater across the street. So this is part of, like, the sabotage thing. So Hugh Jackman had done the invisible, like, the teleporting man trick, and then that fell apart, and then that's when he kidnapped the engineer to figure out, like, how to read the journal, and that's where he got sent on to go find Tesla. And then Tesla gives him a machine that literally actually clones you and teleports you, like, actually. So
like,
now,
actually?
like, actually. So now we're here, and Hugh Jackman is, like, being shady, and he's, like, only got blind stage hands, and they keep, like, they have, like, this weird special thing they do after everything, and he does the trick again. It's, like, the new and improved teleporting man, and now that there's no, like, double or whatever, Christian Bale, like, hears about it, and he watches it, and he's like, how does this guy do it? Like, now he wants to know what the trick is, because he doesn't fully know what it is. So Christian Bale goes backstage and he sees Hugh Jackman fall underwater in this closed thing, and, like, that's, like, the beginning opening scene of the movie, and that's where Michael Caine sees him, and they like, Michael Caine has never been backstage and sees it before, so he believes it. So now we're caught up to present day with the trial. Christian Bale is found guilty
Good.
of murder, but then he's, like, having this, like, emotional goodbye with the engineer. Oh, and at some point Christian Bale's wife kills herself. So she casually hangs herself.
She killed the wrong person. She should have killed Christian Bale.
Yeah. So then Christian Bale is, like, saying goodbye to his daughter, but it turns out that, like, the guy who bought the trick, he, like, the Christian Bale's like, okay, like, fine, I'll sell you the trick, just let my daughter, like, don't touch her or whatever, like, whatever. And the guy, like, buys the trick and he goes, actually, my person doesn't want it anymore. Oh wait, no, I remember. So the previous guy, his employer that he worked for, who wanted to buy the trick, shows up, and it's Hugh Jackman.
Not even shocked.
It's Hugh Jackman. It's the other Hugh Jackman that came out of the door. And he's there with the daughter, because he's the one taking care of her. He's taking care of Christian Bale's daughter. And Christian Bale's like, here, I'll sell you the trick, just, like, let my daughter be taken care of by my engineer. And Hugh Jackman takes the trick, and he's like, you know what? I don't care about the secret of your trick. So he rips it up. So he's like, I don't care anymore. And he's like, I've got your daughter. I'm going to take care of her. And, like, you're going to die. And that's that, you know? Like, ha ha ha, I have the last thing that she loved. Like, don't worry, I'll take care of her. But, like, you're just going to die knowing that she's going to be in good hands, but they're my hands.
But it doesn't matter, because there's a Christian Bale clone anyway. Continue.
Oh ho ho. So then Christian Bale dies. And then the engineer is, like, watching, and he's sad. And then you find out at some point, like, Michael Caine also is like, I don't know what's going on with you, Hugh Jackman, but whatever. Somehow, I don't even remember how they get here. Hugh Jackman is, like, in like this storage container unit or whatever, and then Christian Bale follows him there, and Christian Bale shoots him. And so Hugh Jackman's, like, dying, and he's like, what? I thought you died, though. And Christian Bale was like, bitch, I was his twin brother. We're twins. That was the secret. And he was like, what? And he, like, explains how, like, they did, like, the makeup or whatever, and, like, they took turns being the engineer, and they took turns being Christian Bale. And so his wife was actually not crazy. Like, they were literally two different people that she was dealing with, and one of them loved her, and the other one loved Scarlett Johansson, and they had different personalities. And she knew right from the start who was who, but, like, didn't know because she thought it was still the same person. So they're like, yeah, I just had a twin, and we just lived half a life through the same person because he's so method. And Hugh Jackman's
I'm
like,
gonna kill myself.
oh my god, yeah. And then the best part, because Christopher Nolan is nothing if not heavy-handed. So they're talking about the prestige, but now the prestige is like a metaphor for filmmaking, because Christian Bale is like, what happened to you? Like you totally like got lost in it or whatever. Hugh Jackman's like, well, I do it to see the, don't you remember? We do this to see the look on their faces, because the audience knows that it's a trick. The audience knows it's an illusion. The audience knows it's not a fake, but for 1 second they forget that it's not, and we do it to see the look on their faces. I'm like, oh, I get it. It's like, it's a metaphor for filmmaking. Of course it's fucking a metaphor for filmmaking. Wow, Christopher Nolan, you're speaking to me through Hugh Jackman right now. Fuck you. That's literally what it is. They're talking about it. I'm like, this is literally like Christopher Nolan's entire MO is like, he's like, the audience is in on the joke, but how can I trick them? Because they know it. I was like, when that was happening. And then Hugh Jackman dies. And then Christian Bale goes to Hugh Jackman's big like mansion, and his daughter is there, and Michael Caine like knowingly gives him the daughter, and he's like, yeah, we did the right thing. I switched my alliances because Hugh Jackman was a bad guy. And I was like, when did this happen? Like, what? And then it ends. Like, it's, oh,
This is so stupid and
that's
annoying, and I hate everything.
that's the movie. That's, I didn't even look at the synopsis, so I might have missed some things, but that's pretty much the movie. And see, I actually knew the twist when I watched it. And people can say that's blasphemous or whatever, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I didn't know the twist. And knowing the twist actually made me appreciate how like he was able to hide the twist but still like have the twist clearly in full view. Like when the wife was like, "Do you mean it when you say you love me?" I was like, "Uh-huh. She knows." But she like doesn't know, because most people don't hide as the same person if they have a twin. But there's like other like two also, when like the little boy's like, but what about his brother? I'm like, oh, it's like scripted, foreshadowing. But what about your brother Christian Bale, who is pretending to be a mute engineer? Anyways, it's like if you're watching it for the first time, I could see how it would be like a mind blowing movie if like you've never read anything more difficult than the Hardy Boys, but like but like when you watch it the second time, it's like it's well made. I'm not gonna say it's not well made, but when you watch it and you know the thing, and then the more I think about it, the more it's like it's just so corny, you know? It's so like heavy handed and kind of dumb, and like and the ends where Hugh Jackman's like, we do it for the look on their faces, because the audience already knows they're in on it. I'm like, oh, this is just a filmmaking metaphor. Ugh, the filmmaking's like a magic trick. Shut up. So yeah, that's the movie is well made, but I think it's overrated. And like I remembered yelling at it about it to my friends later, because Hugh Jackman's character makes like zero sense. Like, where did the showmanship come from? Where did this like sudden, like, he, the only defining character trait he had was that he loved his wife. And like if you're going to give him, like in Hamilton, they represent two different strategies of like survival, right? If you're going, and allegedly in this movie that is what they're going for, but if you're going to do that, Hugh Jackman needs to have that showmanship, do it for the look on the audience, like the audience factor. That has to be part of his character right from the get-go, and it's not. And like Christian Bale is the only one that's like, I'm all about the method, no tricks, just method, and and I'm like, Michael Caine, what even? Like, I don't understand your whole thing. Oh, then Michael Caine also, because Hugh Jackman essentially like murdered hundreds of his clones. Like he killed himself every night, and then like that's what he did every single night for the trick. Because like Christian Bale was like, nothing of sacrifice because I had to live half a life, and Hugh Jackman's like, yes I do. I had to kill myself every single night to do this goddamn trick. And like it reveals to show like the hundreds of tanks with him floating in it dead, because like Hugh Jackman modified it to lock in. So technically Christian Bale had nothing to do with Hugh Jackman dying. He actually tried to get him out. It was Hugh Jackman was knowingly murdering himself every single night, and then the clone came out. But it was like, which one's him? Which one's the clone? And they show like a bit where like after he clones himself, the guy who gets cloned is like they both have the same brain, so they both think they're the original Hugh Jackman, but the actual original Hugh Jackman like shoots the clone before he can do anything. But then because he's the one who starts the trick, he kills himself and then pops out on the other end. Um, and he did that because Michael Caine had said that drowning was like going home, but then Michael Caine, when he finds out what Hugh Jackman's been doing, tells him, "You know that story I told you about the sailor where he said it was like going home?" Hugh Jackman was like, "Yeah." Michael Caine was like, "I lied." He said it was the most terrible suffering he'd ever felt in his entire life. It was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt. So now it's like, oh, Hugh Jackman thought he was like humanely killing himself every single night, but actually he was brutally murdering them by drowning. I don't know. It was just dumb. So that's that's the Prestige. What are your thoughts?
I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. It's long. It's
I
like
didn't
3 hours.
I didn't care 2 minutes into the explanation. I cared even less 5 minutes in the explanation. And I care even less now that you have explained the entire movie. I don't care at all. I don't care at all.
Yeah.
I'm so bored.
Yeah.
You wasted my life.
Listen, at least I only wasted an hour of your life. It could be worse.
3 hours.
It could have been 3 hours of
Oh
struggling to understand the British accents and being confused the entire time. So, yeah. Like, initially when I first watched it, I was like, oh, it wasn't so bad. Okay. I could see why people like it. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, no, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, if the whole thing was about twins, what's the point of the cloning thing? That doesn't make any sense.
I think...
Because you are, again, still in, like, ingrained in the real world, even if it's a super dumb, right? Like, everything. And then you get to this thing where it's, like, literally, well, it's not magic, it's science. But it's just, like, that comes out of left field. And if you're not setting up that kind of thing,
yeah,
I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't, like, you didn't need it.
Yeah, it's like Hugh Jackman.
You really didn't need it. Because you could still use the same thing, right? Like, maybe he kills the double, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's taking all the fame or whatever for the trick. I think that would make more sense. That he thinks he's killed him, but it's actually
the double.
Right? And they're like, why'd you do it for the whatever? Like, it's still in the same, like, you didn't need this whole weird cloning thing. Like, you didn't need it. You just wanted it so you could seem cool and impressive. And
yeah, it is based on a book where the cloning thing pops out. I think the idea is, like, one person is just doing, like, via method, and then the other person went out of his way to, like, have a special machine built, and that machine ends up casually defying the laws of science.
Also, what kind of a guy is like, oh, you're my twin brother, but you want me to put my entire life on hold so we can live the exact same life? Like, I'd be like, I don't care about my twin brother. I'm living my own life, you weirdo. Like, what the heck?
They both wanted to pull off this magic trick.
They both wanted to pull off this great magic trick. Alright, whatever.
It's just dumb.
Whatever.
I think the idea is that Hugh Jackman just so strongly believed there had to be a trick and that it wasn't as simple as a double, even though everyone told him it was a double, that he decided he would just casually defy the laws of science and ethics to pull the trick off his way. But it still doesn't make sense why he would do that, because it doesn't mesh with his character outside of his obsession with one-upping Christian Bale. You know, there's nothing to insinuate that he believes in the supernatural. There's nothing to insinuate that he is 100% about the presentation until Michael Caine approaches him. Like, the only thing he had cared about prior, like, he didn't even care that much about magic. He was just like, oh, it's fun, and this is just like a fun thing, and I love my wife. Like, that was just him. And he just descends into this thing. And I know Christopher Nolan does a lot of stuff about, like, obsession. But obsession stems from something that is you're already predisposed towards, right? You know, it's not going to be some, like, random thing like, yeah, this man killed your wife. But that makes sense if you're obsessed with ruining him because you love your wife. But then the other stuff just comes out of left field for me, and I'm like it could work maybe, but the character doesn't make sense because Christopher Nolan is not very good at writing character. And I think the only reason the story even works is because it was based off a book, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's it's just like, I don't like, is it like a metaphor for like digital versus like actual film, where like Christian Bale is like the actual old analog filmmaking ways, and like Hugh Jackman is supposed to stand in for the CG heavy digital way, which is a stupid argument to have anyways because they're all just tools. There's not one tool that's better than the other. Like, I'm sick and tired of people being like film is superior. Like, they're just tools. You can prefer film without like saying that it's superior, you know. It's just like, oh, we should go back to cave painting because there's nothing like fresco on an actual granite wall that hasn't been touched by humans, like
Fresco.
fresco. But it's I can see why it appeals to pretentious white film guys, because it's about the execution and like the method, I guess. But to me, I'm
It's
like,
about the prestige.
the prestige of the film. Yeah, exactly.
Oh
But
my
to me,
god.
I'm like, well, there's more to a movie than how it is made. And how it is made can be impressive and add another layer of enjoyment to the movie. But the point of the movie and the techniques used to make it is to tell the story. And if the story is not good, it doesn't matter whether you film the whole thing in one shot, or if like the whole script was improvised, or like you only use natural lighting, right? If the story's not good, the story's not good. And if the characters are inconsistent, they're inconsistent. So I don't know. It's just okay. Like, the movie's fine. It's not, I don't think it's
It's
like,
fine.
yeah. So it's just a classic typical Nolan movie. Honestly, Inception is the one I enjoy the most. And that's the one everyone says is the most popcorn film. Like, um what's the word for like really like popular, like public, non non-academic whatever sort of movie. It's like that's the most, I want to say proletariat, but that's not the right word.
This movie is very proletariat.
Where
For
it's
the
like,
masses.
yeah, like the most like easily consumed movie is Inception, and that's the one that I enjoy the most of his. But I think it might be because it's the first one I saw. But it's also just like, I don't have to think. It's not that difficult. It's just cool,
Mm.
whatever. But it's also not like mind blowing. It's just people just put him on a pedestal too much, and it kind of ruins the movies. But so, what would you rate the movie?
A one.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care at all about the characters.
Yeah.
I didn't care at all about the stories.
Yeah.
I don't care
Yeah.
about magic.
I like magic. You know, the only good magician movie, the only good magician movies are Sorcerer's
I can't
Apprentice.
wait. Okay. Uh-huh.
Because that scene where they play Secrets by One Republic on the Tesla coils is really cool. But that movie itself is kind of like, okay. And then the animated movie called The Illusionist by the guy who did Triplets of Belleville.
Oh, that French movie.
Yeah, the French one. That one I really like. That one's really good. That one's really pretty. Um, but yeah, those are the only two I can think of, because Now You See Me is really stupid. The
I
Jesse
don't even know what
Eisenberg.
movie that is.
It's like the Jesse Eisenberg magician one where,
Is that about magicians?
yeah,
Is that about magic?
yeah.
Wow. Literally had no idea.
That one's like actually about Houdini in a weird way. It's like Houdini's son is in it. Like, Mark Ruffalo's in it, and I think
I was
he's
gonna ask, is
Houdini's
that the
son.
movie with Mark Ruffalo? I thought that was like a badder version of That Leonardo DiCaprio movie
Catch
where
Me If You
he's
Can.
yeah.
I haven't seen Catch Me If You Can, but it's basically like
I've only seen bits and pieces of that one.
it's like a heist magic movie.
Okay, sure. You want? You know what? Why not? Why not? Sure. Okay.
But yeah. So, yeah, I would rate the movie 2.5 out of 5, solid 50%, because it is
Solid
well made and it's
50%.
well executed and it's well edited. Technically, on technical standpoints, it's pretty decent and the story is okay. But I hate it when I'm reading a book or I'm watching a movie and there's a moment where I'm like, oh, the author or the director is talking to me, like through the character. Like it happened in 1984 where it was like, this is just George Orwell telling me what he thinks. It happens in a lot of those like older kind of like dystopian-ish novels like from the 80s and 70s where it's like, Ayn Rand is just talking to me. Arthur C. Clarke is just talking to me. This is just the author's opinions on science fiction right now on this particular thing just talking to me. Um, and this happened in Interstellar where he shit the bed with the exposition. Like the thing is he shits the bed with the climaxes. He cannot handle a climax because the way
he can't handle the climax.
he
Are you telling me
cannot
that
he comes
Christopher
short.
Nolan can't handle the climax? Are you trying to tell me that Christopher Nolan drags, and then once he hits the climax, he just falls a little short?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's so
That's an interesting metaphor.
It's just the ending is always so flaccid and not what I'm expecting. And I'm like, you took me for a ride for 2 hours? And this is what you finished me with?
2-hour ride and it wasn't even worth it.
I'm like, that's it? Like that's it? All that build up?
Why were people hyping you?
I'm not satisfied. Like, are you gonna keep going with this? He shits the bed with the climax. Like he did it with Interstellar with a stupid exposition. He did it here again with a stupid exposition. I'm like, why? Like, the minute he went, this is all a metaphor for filmmaking, I was like, I hate you. Like, I see what you're doing and I get it, but it's stupid. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, so 2.5 out of 5 for that, just because he does know how to make a movie. But I swear to God, just
he knows how to make a movie.
He knows how to make a movie well.
Okay,
that's about it. And he made this movie well, and the way he edited it and showed it and told the story worked for the story. So like that's fine. The more I think about it, the angrier I get.
I'm worked up.
Yeah.
Worked up.
Yep. So that's The Prestige. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on it. If you liked it, you know what? You probably should have stopped listening like 30 minutes ago if you liked this movie. But
now I want to know what they think about this movie. I need to prove them wrong.
Yeah, don't do that. Just accept that we disagree and move on and watch a movie praising it, or watch a video praising it, because there's so many of those. But yeah, thanks for listening. Where can they find us?
In my house. I'm currently in my room.
Oh, I'm also in my room. Are we in the same room?
We are in the same room. Okay, yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Magic Monster. And you can find us, our Twitter at Don't Watch Movies. And Corinne.
You can find me at Corinne is Korean on Twitter. Woo!
I need to update our Twitter.
Yeah, I need to actually start editing episodes.
We need to do a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah. And next time we'll be talking about a movie that both of us haven't seen. I don't know what movie that will be.
Yeah, we don't know which movie yet.
Well,
lots of schedule changes have happened, and
yeah.
So we're trying to figure out our lives.
But then after that, I imagine we will be talking about Jurassic Park 2, which I'm very excited.
I'm really excited to actually talk about Jurassic Park 2.
I'm very excited to hear about it, because I've only seen the ending.
Let me preface this by saying I had only seen the beginning. Or at least I only remember the beginning. And also, I was screaming through the entire movie. So, much like I was screaming through the first Jurassic Park movie. But yeah, so
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I've read the synopsis like a zillion times, but I really want to hear your retelling.
My retelling is gonna be pretty great.
Yeah, I want to be on the receiving end.
I don't want to get anyone's
movie.
hopes up about it, but I think it's gonna be pretty good. Okay, so that is all.
Nice.
Everyone.
Yes. Thanks
Goodbye.
for listening. Bye.
Thank you.